Okay, so the whole idea is I played a lot of games in 2023. 72 of them to be precise. Maybe more. I will double check. Like after all of this is done, I will go back and double check. And so I thought to myself, I really wanna do something with this. At first, there was an idea to review all of them in a series of video where I would review, like, 2 minutes per game or something like that, like really crazy rapid fire reviews until I was done with everything. But after I made that Sev video, I didn't like the turnout of that, so I decided I will actually do it on stream and see what happens. And yeah, that's how I decided to officially do it. So we have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier, and I have the 72 games I played and either completed or dropped. And I will be like kinda going through what I thought, like try to justify why I gave them such a score, which I suspect will turn into a shitstorm. And important to note, these games are not from 2023. There are like 4 games on here that came out in 2023. 5 if you count the re-release of Persona 3 Portable, because it came out for PC in 2023. Those are just games from my backloggd from my backlog of games that I wanted to go through, and I sort of been going through. So first, let's move this all to the waiting room. Okay, so let's start from the top. Here, actually, I have I kept a journal of all the games I played last year on backloggd.com. I started this journal kinda late, so some of those games I played at the very end of 2022 actually, and they spilled over into 2023, and only then did I start like making entries like really detailed. So the first game I wanna talk about is Deathloop, and Deathloop is going straight into fucking D tier because it's a terrible game and I can't believe how bad it was. Let's see what I wrote about it actually. I wrote most of those in the heat of the moment, so they reflect kinda what I went through when I finished those games. But in this case, I never finished the Deathloop, and here is why. Multiple softlocks ruined the game for me. The gameplay is quite good, but obviously can't recommend it if game-breaking bugs are not fixed 2 years post-release. Multiple times I run into a bug where I open up my inventory and I cannot do anything. Like, the game is still going, my inventory is blocking me from interacting with the game, I cannot do anything. And if you know how Deathloop plays, Deathloop is kinda like you start a level and you have to beat it before the game saves, right? I was 45 fucking minutes into a loop. I did like everything from that level I wanted to do, and the fucking inventory screen locked me in, and I would have to go back an hour before that, and I just went, fuck this game, this is literally the 3rd time it happened to me. And like a lot of people in the chat said, this is literally the worst arcane game I played personally. Next up is Tunic. Tunic is a wait, this is going like C tier, right? Yeah, C tier, 2.5. Tunic is a cute little indie RPG. It wears its inspirations on the sleeve, like the main character literally looks like Link from Legend of Zelda. It's cutesy, you go through the world, you fight you fight like the monsters in your way. It looks very cool from the graphics are very pretty, they are very cute. It got so repetitive that I dropped it after 5 hours of playtime. Like I just didn't click with the game. I don't think the game did anything like really bad, but some backtracking, some like issues with enemy variety prevented me from placing it any way higher. Then I played Mass Effect 2 for the first time ever. I have never touched a Mass Effect game before 2023, and in 2022. In 2022, I beat Mass Effect 1 via the Legendary Edition, and then at the beginning of 2023, I beat Mass Effect 2, and holy fuck, it's such a good game. It's so good. I feel bad placing it into the A tier, which is like 4 out of 5. I might move this into bottom of the S tier because god damn, do you rarely get a game so much, such a cool cast of characters, such a cool story, so many choices that actually affect what happens to you. Mass Effect 2 is fucking great. Fun RPG with deep lore where choices matter, everything is a step up from Mass Effect 1. Yeah, that's all I had to like really say about it. I played like 45 fucking hours of it. I did like all of the side quests, all of the loyalty missions of my companions. Just a beautiful fucking game. I still haven't played Mass Effect 3 because I heard it's quite bad. Okay, next up we have Slay the Spire. And Slay the Spire is another entry that I feel bad placing into A tier. I think it will be bottom of the S tier. I will adjust this later. Slay the Spire is a simple but extremely fun card game. Truly a concentrated burst of almost video game perfection. I played Slay the Spire for 15 hours. This was enough to unlock like all of the main characters and see like each type of event that is possible in this game. It was so good I refused to stand up from PC and do my chores around the house while my run was still going strong. It was like the only thing on this list as addictive as Slay the Spire to me was Kenshi, and Kenshi fucking poisoned my life. Like I literally couldn't think about anything else other than Kenshi, and Slay the Spire was very like comparable to that. I just had to wake up, make myself coffee, start a run in Slay the Spire, end it before I did anything in the day, and then I had to end my day by doing another run of Slay the Spire, which can take like from an hour to 2 hours to 3 hours even, depending on what you are doing. So yeah, another great game. Speaking of great games, coming up next is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is sadly not making it into the S tier. I am very comfortable placing it in A tier. I didn't write anything about this game. I played it for 90 hours, which was just the main story. I left majority of side quests to the I left majority of the side quests and I wanted to do them like post finishing the story, and I didn't do them at all because the story took me 90 fucking hours. Okay, so The Witcher 3 is a game where you hunt monsters as this mutant, like modified human beings, especially modified to kill monsters, named Geralt. And he's like an expert monster exterminator. Like he has traps, bombs, whatever for oils for different ghosts and ghouls and whatever, and you call him and you pay him a lot of money to get rid of like werewolves and leeches and whatever. And throughout the whole story he's looking for his kinda daughter, but that doesn't matter because the main story is you go around the kingdom and you solve you go around the kingdom and you solve monster problems, and it's fucking great. The side content and the things you do in main story are so good. They are so engaging. Characters are written so fucking beautifully. The only thing I didn't like is the combat. The combat is very basic, is very repetitive. It doesn't require much of you, but I am always very hard on games for their combat. So, and then The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Hearts of Stone. I played through, and this thing, where is it? The Witcher 3 Hearts of Stone expansion is going up there to 5 out of 5, because the main story of Witcher 3, the base game, was kind of cool. It had a lot of highs, it had some lows, right? But then this fucking beautiful masterpiece of an expansion came out. And like I said, the story clears base Witcher 3 easily, which is quite a feat, because like the story of base Witcher 3 was kinda good, you know. This took me 11 hours. This might be one of the most creative things I have seen in all of fantasy. Like, a character shows up in this DLC so fucking powerful. You never see characters like that in games. You only see characters in like that in like manga and anime kinda, and they are usually like this main force. Characters like that are hard to establish in video games without coming off as pretentious as fuck. And a character like that shows up in this expansion, and he's kind of like a genie that grants you wishes, but they are monkey paw wishes. So there is always a twist. There is always a price to pay. And this guy is so fucking powerful. You have to do like such a complex ritual to even before you can even swing your sword at him. And the story follows you are helping out a guy who had his wish granted, but it was, you know, a twisted wish that didn't come out right. And you are helping this guy banish this genie from this world because he's clearly fucking things up. And it's such a beautiful, tragic story, and it's so full of originality. Like I said, I really think this is some top tier fantasy fucking writing. Then we have Ghost of Tsushima, which I am placing lower than Witcher 3. I think it is a less enjoyable game than Witcher 3, but it's still very fucking good. Like, those two tiers up here, those are goated games. Those are like some of the best games you can play still. And Ghost of Tsushima is a good game dripping with atmosphere, a damn good story, a lot of things on... a lot of things on the open world map is a bunch of busy work for nearly useless rewards though. That's why it's not higher than like 8 out of 10 in my opinion. And I put like 40 hours into it. The main story of Ghost of Tsushima is so fucking good. It's truly incredible. The only way this game lost points from me was the combat got really repetitive. I was doing everything I could to skip encounters at the end of the game, like there is a mechanic where you throw a kunai to break enemy's guard. I was opening combat with that at the end of the fucking story. Just break his guard, run up to him, fucking gut him with my samurai sword immediately so I have one enemy less to deal with. I was cheesing enemies with fucking bombs, with smoke bombs by throwing them and then stealth assassinating them inside the smoke bomb. I was cheesing enemies with anything I could just to end the combat as quickly as humanly possible, because I did not enjoy it that much. And mainly because also I wanted to see the next story bit. The story bits in this game are incredible. I hate that there is so much combat in it, because there is a lot of fighting and it's kinda good, but not that good. There are side missions where it's a 1v1 duel with swordsmen, and those are fucking goated. Those are so good, but like the main combat of the game was whatever. Then we have Salt and Sanctuary, another indie game that I dropped after 4 hours only. Salt and Sanctuary I'm placing below Tunic. Salt and Sanctuary is what people describe as 2D Dark Souls. There are like bullshit traps, there are some very annoying enemies, there are amazing boss fights that you have to grind against. But what made me drop Salt and Sanctuary is that enjoyed the combat and the art style, but dropped the game immediately after the game started pivoting towards being a very bad platformer couple of zones in. And this is why I dropped the game, and this is why I will not give it more than like 2.5 out of 5, so 5 out of 10. The zone I ended the game on had like tiny platforms on the treetops, and there were a bunch of archers around, and you would try to make a fucking jump from one platform to another, and an arrow would snipe you, you would fall to the very bottom, either die and all of the enemies would respawn, or lose a bunch of HP and you had to waste healing. And there was a long way you had to go through, so wasting that healing actually killed your run anyway. The fucked up thing is, I was enjoying Salt and Sanctuary to that point, because I enjoyed like the actual combat, where when you are on level ground with the enemy or you are fighting a boss, it's a cool arcadey, swing your sword and kill the enemy. But those platforming sections were fucking stupid, and I read on the internet that they get so much worse towards the end of the game. I decided I am fucking dropping the game. Then we have Overgrowth, so it's gonna be bottom of A tier. I couldn't bring it like anywhere higher on this list, sadly. A game I really like, and the consensus is it's not as good as I rated it. Like, as you can see on this website, the average rating is 3 out of 5. I have it as 4 out of 5 personally. This is a short game with some of the most thrilling combat I had the pleasure to experience. There is a story, but I'm going to be real, it's not great and not the reason why you should experience Overgrowth. I loved it so much that I'm going to overlook the bad platforming included in the game, only to pad out its length. I'm going to put on some gameplay to show you good people, because I believe like most people never seen this game. This is gameplay by Lacri, Overgrowth Ending Walkthrough Gameplay Part 5. And Overgrowth is this really cool fighting game. It's very furry, as you can see. There are only furry characters, which is, I swear to God, it's not why I like it. It's the fighting. The fighting is incredible, man. Enemies, you can disarm yourself and the enemies. The hand-to-hand combat is some of the best fucking fighting I have ever seen in my entire life. All of the enemies and the weapons are so reactive. You can knock out swords out of hands of your opponents and then skewer them. Throw your weapons and they can block it or catch it if they are good enough. You can like wall bounce into a fucking high kick. You can slide to knock them off balance. There are so many cool things you can do in this game. It's honestly fucking incredible, but the story is so bad. And also there is a lot of platforming, because you are a bunny man and he jumps really far, right? So they included a bunch of platforming sections, which I hate. But being this rabbit man has its advantages, because you can jump and you can fucking kick the head off your enemy if your jump lands directly on him. This is my favorite move in the entire game, where you jump and you bounce off the enemy to like knock him off balance. It's so fucking fun to do. The enemy AI is actually good at picking up your playstyle, so they will adapt to your moves, so you need to adapt to their moves. And it's honestly the best fighting game I have ever fucking played. Then we have Resident Evil 1 Remake. from 2002, and this is a very controversial pick. Where is it? Resident Evil 1 Remake is going into I refuse to rate it category. This is the only game that will be here. I don't want to give Resident Evil 1 Remake a rating because I played this game for only an hour. That is why I will not rate it. That is not enough in my opinion. I'm not going to rate the game because I dropped it really early on. The environments are amazing, the game is just eye candy, and the survival horror gameplay is perfect. Except for the fucking tank controls, which are terrible. They just make the game frustrating to play. I also hate the door transition animations that take ages. Obviously this is a leftover from the console days, the loading screens. This game was definitely not for me. And the specific point I quit at was the balcony with like 3 dogs. And you had to kill one of them for a key, I believe. This was a combination of 3 things. I fucked up. That was the first step, right? I made a mistake. That is completely on me. Then the camera spun around because fucking tank controls, which was the game's fault. And then the dogs stun locked me to death, which was the composition of the previous 2 problems. And I died and I lost a lot of progress because I didn't think I would need to save this early on, so I was like, you know what, I am not enjoying myself and I don't want to repeat all of that. I'm good, thank you. And I kinda quit it. The game looks and it sounds amazing. It's so beautiful, but I cannot play games with tank controls. I am so fucking sorry. I tried Resident Evil 0, it was the same thing. I just hate tank controls. Speaking of things I hate, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. This is going into the D tier. There we go, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is going into D tier. I don't know if it's like... Okay, I'm going to put it below Deathloop. There is a psyop going around the internet that this is a good game. Like even here, it's almost 4 out of 5. This is fucking... I don't know what this is. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what these people played, but Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy was really bad. For me personally, maybe I'm wrong, you know. Very boring combat. 90% of my first 2 hours, I played this only for 2 hours. 90% of my first 2 hours was walking down a corridor, listening to Forspoken level dialogue. I genuinely do not understand why people praise this game so much. I assume Guardians of the Galaxy being in the name is the reason. The jokes and the dialogue in this fucking game was atrocious. And I wanna underline something, right? I really like all 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and this wasn't even Marvel dialogue. A lot of people say Marvel dialogue, you know, to describe like really bad dialogue between characters. This wasn't Marvel dialogue, this was fucking terrible. Like all of the jokes did not land with me and I was just waiting for the next combat section to start so I can fight something. And the dialogues just kept going and the cutscenes just kept going and the game didn't allow me to fight anything and I was so fucking bored for 2 hours. This was such a waste of my goddamn time. I really hated this. And the combat itself was very mid from like all of the encounters, but I only really played the fucking tutorial encounters because then the story started happening and unskippable cutscenes, unskippable dialogue, walk and talks and everything. I'm sorry. Might be me issue. I picked up Scarlet Nexus because somebody said it's kinda like... I really liked Code Vein. It's like Dark Souls, but you design your little fucking anime character and you have like spells and whatever. Somebody said Scarlet Nexus is kinda like that. I tried it. It wasn't. I played for 3 hours, I abandoned it. The gameplay was so promising, but what stuck out way more than the gameplay was the unimpressive narrative with the flat, frankly generic anime characters. The cutscenes are so jarring they take you out of the experience every single time they play. Like the game itself looks fine. You know, it's obviously anime. Not everybody is gonna vibe with the anime. But the game looks fine, right? And like you have, yeah, it's a standard cutscene, whatever. The anime woman is speaking to you, whatever, whatever. See, this is fine, this is normal. I can live with this. And then the cutscenes de-evolve into this. This was every single fucking cutscene after the prologue.
I can't believe your family grave is a tourist spot. You sure are an elite.
And there is so much dialogue and cutscenes in this game, and you are just looking at JPEGs. And I was like, what the fuck are we even doing here? The exposition is very anime. I think the writing is not great. The most promising thing out of this, thing out of this was the combat. The combat is actually pretty fucking good. But the game didn't want to focus on the combat. It wanted to focus on the story and the cutscenes. Like, the combat is a pretty solid character action thing, and my favorite mechanic is that you can use your telekinesis. It's that thing right there, R2, hold R2. And drag cars into enemies from the background and fucking stunlock them with the car. That's such a cool mechanic. I think, oh look, he's doing it right now. Okay, he went for a finisher. Like, the combat was cool, but the game didn't want to fucking focus on that combat at all, so I had to drop it. I will place it below Tunic because I think I would rather finish Tunic before I went back to this. Speaking of bad fucking cutscenes, man. Holy shit. This is gonna be bottom of C tier. This game tries very hard to pretend that your choices matter. But if you played Telltale games before, you probably know all of the tricks by now. If you saved someone, they will die anyway or leave the story like 10 minutes later, rendering your choice pointless. The narrative is interesting enough, but failed to keep my attention to the very end. I played 5 hours, I rated it 2 out of 5. As Dusk Falls is like The Walking Dead, the Telltale The Walking Dead. So it's a narrative game where you pick stuff, and it looks like this. The art style got shitted on so badly because it's just still images, kinda. I will be real with you. It didn't bother me that much, but I know a lot of people were fucking pissed at this art style because it is... I mean, it's barely a fucking video at this point, it's a slideshow. But the voice acting carries like these cutscenes, I guess. When a lot of things are happening, this game starts looking very goofy, like a lot of motion. And like the premise of the game is interesting. Is it AI generated? No, this came out before the AI generated boom. I will be real, some of the story is very interesting, but I was done as soon as I chose to save a guy, right? He was going to get fucked up by the police, and I saved him. And 5 minutes later, in the very next scene, he dies in a fucking car crash, rendering my choice completely pointless. And I was like, fuck this game, I am not giving it the time of day anymore, because Jesus Christ. I only had 2 games out of all of those that earned like 5 out of 5, and Hollow Knight was one of them. Because, holy fuck. This game is so good, I can't believe it. Lives up to the hype surrounding it, and then still delivers more than you can imagine. I did not 100% it, but I have to go back and do it at some point. I think everybody here knows what Hollow Knight is and kinda how it looks. I went into this game overhyped as fuck and the game still delivered. I couldn't believe it. This is one of the most hyped indie games I have ever seen and it still was better than people were hyping it up to be. I couldn't believe it. Just the gameplay was so fun. The developers of this game are so generous. There is so much extra content you can do, including those impossibly brutal challenges. There is an arena with empowered bosses and some new ones, and it's hard as fuck. So if the game is too easy for you, at some point you will run into content that will meet your expectations, I would say. The music, the art style, the gameplay, it's just one of the best games I have ever played. Ninja Gaiden Sigma is firmly going into the middle here. I don't know, man. I will gladly place it above Scarlet Nexus but below Tunic. This guy knows what's up with this game. Hey, let's make our rocket launcher guy and put him in every fucking fight. It will be for sure fun for the 120th time. Don't worry about it. Ninja Gaiden is one of the very early entries into character action games. Like Devil May Cry, Bayonetas and whatever. And I think it's kinda mid. It's very mid. I dropped it after 4 hours. I can't believe people bring up this game when talking about games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. It's slippery and frustrating when you fail, and then when you are doing good, you don't feel like you're doing anything special. That pretty much sums up my experience with Ninja Gaiden Sigma, which is an enhanced edition of Ninja Gaiden 1, I think. I'm not sure. It had a lot of re-releases. Ninja Gaiden Sigma, like I said, when you are doing something cool in a video game like Devil May Cry, you feel fucking cool. You feel like a beast. Ninja Gaiden feels like League of Legends. If you win the game, if you execute all of the enemies, if you do the most perfect, best plan you could ever do in the game, you don't feel anything. You just felt like, oh, I won, I guess. I kinda did the cool thing. I'm not sure how much of that was me and how much of that was the game allowing me to be cool at this moment. And then when you fail a challenge, you will destroy your entire setup and curse this game and send pipe bombs to the developers. So then we have Need for Speed Heat. So this game, I haven't played Need for Speed in a long while. The last Need for Speed I played before Heat was, I believe, Undercover or something like that. I played all of the classics, what is it called in English? Blacklist? Underground series, of course. And I followed Need for Speed for a little while longer, but the games that were coming out were so fucking uninteresting, I completely stopped following it, and I randomly decided to pick up Heat because it was on Game Pass. And it was good. It was really good. I rated it 7 out of 10. And here's what I wrote out of it. After a long break from the franchise, I picked this up via the Xbox Game Pass and it's pretty good. I like the environments. The driving is very satisfying. Actually requires some work on your part in certain races. I don't really like the split between... there's a split between day and night races. Mostly because day races are just a straight downgrade in every aspect, but you are forced to engage with them to progress. For those of you who don't know, this game had a mechanic where day races were legal and they had the actual course of the race was set up. There were no cops, there were no other cars on the road. You were just driving through a completely legal race and it was boring as fuck. And then the night races are the races with like traffic and police chasing you in the middle of the race, and they were cool as fuck. But legal races earned you money, and illegal races earned you reputation or something like that. And you needed money for upgrades, and you needed reputation to unlock like better upgrades. So you needed to do both of them. And I never wanted to do day races. After 8 hours of playing this, I shelved it, which is I will definitely come back to play more of it because when I'm in the mood, because it's fucking good. And then we move on to backloggd 2, which is it feels wrong to like place it below Need for Speed. This is a very controversial take because I don't like backloggd. So I rated it 3 out of 5, which is like 6 out of 10. And this is what I wrote. I wrote, backloggd 2 made great strides to make the awful experience of backloggd 1 actually playable, and it still did not deliver for me. The game is just kinda really boring. The unique setting, interesting dialogue and characters do not offset the simple fact that you are doing literally nothing 80% of your playthrough, which is just, you know, walking forward pretty much. I did not finish it. I played it for 10 hours and I think I made it to fucking day 6 or 7, something like that. I pretty much did half of the game. I did not finish it. The game is supposedly hard and brutal, except for the fact you can easily game it with quick saves and picking and stealing from one district of the beaten path to pillage for supplies over and over, and it takes care of all your money, hunger and health problems for your entire playthrough. I could not bear to finish it. I get that you can have despair, paranoia and tedium as intended reactions from your audience, but there are plenty of games that also do that and also provide some gameplay in your fucking video game. I was very angry at backloggd 2. backloggd, both classic and 2, feels like an art house film but a video game, like a straight social experiment. That is so correct in my opinion. I was very angry at backloggd 2 after I wrote that review because I kinda felt like I'm wasting my time trying to get to like the next story beat. Now I'm less angry, but I am like, I don't think I will ever go back and finish that game because it's just, it's not the experience I am looking for in my video games, you know. It's cool if the game gets weird and experimental and art housey, let's say, but not at the sacrifice of gameplay, and I think backloggd absolutely sacrificed gameplay to be weird and art housey, and I did not like that. Then I played JoJo's Bizarre Adventure R Star Battle R. This one is going like right here, I think, and it's cool, I guess. Here's what I wrote. A friend who loves it put me up to play a couple of matches against each other since the game entered the Xbox Game Pass, and upon playing a couple of matches, there's not a single thing I like about this video game and its systems. I'm not a big fighting game guy, played a ton of Tekken 3, 5 and 7, some Mortal Kombat 9, 10 and 11, some arena fighters like My Heroes 1 Justice, some party fighting games like Brawlhalla and Multiversus. Every single one of those games I liked way better than All-Star Battle R. The controls and inputs for special moves are unbearable to me personally, but I won't rate the game too harshly since it's clearly a personal preference thing. It's just a fighting game thing. Some fighting games are perfect for you and then others feel goddamn terrible. This is the one that felt really bad to me. A guy responded to this review and said, "Nah man, you're 1000% correct on this one. It's a really shitty fighting game mechanically, but it's still fun just because it's JoJo's." So yeah, this is clearly like a product made for JoJo fans. I am a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fan, but I still did not enjoy this one. Sadly, it's going below Ninja Gaiden Sigma, but above Scarlet Nexus and those other games. Persona 3 Portable. This is the only way I ever completed Persona 3. This is the re-release for PC, which happened last year, and it's going into here, I think top of B tier for me. So Persona 3 is a great story. I love the characters, I love the story. Persona 3 Portable is so low despite being so fucking amazing because of this bit, because it's Persona 3 Portable. This port fucking sucks. It takes out cutscenes, it takes out animations, it takes out walking around. If this was another version of this game, it probably would have been higher. Like, the remake is right around the corner, so it's probably going to be better. But the main issue is that they had to crunch down the game for PSP back in the day, and the PSP was kind of a shit console. So they took this game where you are walking around the environment, interacting with objects, talking to people, right? And then they did this. So you are not walking around the environments anymore, you are just scrolling and clicking on people to talk to them. And it makes the game, it takes you out of the experience so fucking much. I don't know why they bothered porting this version of the game. It also removed a bunch of cutscenes, like I said, because the MP4 files wouldn't fit the fucking PSP, and they chose to port like the vastly inferior version, pretty much. That's why a lot of people keep saying to wait for the remake, because the remake will make all of those issues go away, pretty much. So I wrote, it's barely worth going through the game, to be honest. Tartarus, the one area where all the combat takes place, is one of the most barren, shittiest and longest dungeon I had the displeasure to touch in any game ever. Even going back to the OG game with randomized dungeons, Diablo 2 from fucking 2000s, you will get more diversity and less tedium in the worst dungeons the game had to offer. The story is really good and carries the whole ordeal easily. If the story was not this good, I would not have finished it. Like, no way. The characters are compelling and they experience genuine growth. The presentation of Portable in particular probably knocked a couple of points off the final score because it's bare bones. Atlus had to dumb down the game for PSP, and it's just bizarre they decided to port the vastly inferior version of the game to Game Pass. Like I said, I don't know what they were thinking with this shit, but at least the remake is on the horizon and the remake is looking fucking phenomenal. So, and then I replayed, because I already played this game, but I replayed it with all of the like additional content that I haven't touched before. Resident Evil 2 Remake. This game is so goated. I love it. I loved it. I think this is a great modern interpretation of Resident Evil 2, and I don't know, I just vibed with it. I just vibed with it so much, man. Like, I am considering it, even putting it up here, but it would make the table look crooked, so I will do some adjustments at the end, leave it there for now. I finished it after 16 hours. The main campaign is really short. I just did the main campaign, and all of the additional content like Hank, Tofu, the Ghost Survivors, or whatever that was called, was surprisingly fun. A great remake that completely reimagined the original survival horror, which featured the scariest feature of all, tank controls and a fixed camera combo. I don't like tank controls, man. With getting rid of that outdated shit, it does take away from the tension and horror aspect, but the game is now playable like the original. Okay, this is a little bit of a joke, but I do think like the tank controls and the fixed camera really did make the game, the original game, scarier, right? Because you couldn't like whip the camera around the corner and check, but still, like other Resident Evil 2 Remake has other things going for it, and they did it perfectly. Like I think this is how every game should be remade, pretty much, with like the modern audience in mind and like modern techniques instead of capturing the feeling of old. Because there is another remake coming up that I did not like as much, even though it's much closer to my heart than Resident Evil 2. This is not the game I'm talking about, by the way, but Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139 and 3 dots at the end, which is a great fucking name. And just like the name that I love, Nier Replicant is a goddamn beautiful game. I think I'm gonna put it like right here, below Witcher but above Ghost of Tsushima. The original Nier is this very bizarre kind of action RPG thing with a really crazy over-the-top story. I rated the Nier Replicant 4 out of 5. I put 40 hours into it. It's a long-ass game. A great story bundled with an alright combat. The game does get extremely repetitive if you are going for all the endings, which you should. I played it, enjoyed it, and will remember it for a long time, but I cannot imagine going back and replaying it or grinding achievements after going through the story once. More like 4 times. Yeah, you have to replay the story like 4 times to get all of the endings, which is tedious as fuck, but it's a really good game. The remake completely changed the combat from the original, which was very stiff, but the remake, if you guys played Automata, it's more like that, very like actiony. It's some great combat, I have to say, and the presentation is great. Like all of the new locations and textures, they look fucking fantastic. And then we have, where is it? Resident Evil 3 Remake is going all the way into the fucking bottom of the B tier, and like it would go down way like below this, but there are like working of the engine of Resident Evil 2 like saved this entire fucking game, because the direction was, I don't like the direction of Resident Evil 3, and I have a pretty detailed review from okay, this guy, you know what? This guy summed it up for me. This is a pretty good review of this game, I have to say. Pretty accurate. No, but for real, this is my review. I finished it after 6 hours. Playing this right after Resident Evil 2 Remake will give you enough whiplash to make your neck crack. Gon is using the grenades as one-time escape tools to avoid some damage. Zombies can now turn 180 degrees from lying down on the floor and fucking bite you. The game feels so much cheaper and so much easier at the same time. Nemesis can be downed with a single grenade throw, which is a sick fucking joke, but don't mind him, you won't be seeing him much at all. Did I mention the game is 6 fucking hours long? Or the fact that there are no mercenaries, the single most iconic bonus game mode in all of gaming. 6 hours of playtime, isn't that a €40 game? It is a €40 game! It is a €40 game! When this game launched, right, Resident Evil 3, it doesn't have any bonus modes. it really doesn't. It has some like new game plus stuff, I believe, and some unlocks, but it doesn't have any bonus game modes. It launched with a multiplayer component that is now completely dead. I tried to play it. Where is it? I tried to play it around April of 2023. I couldn't find a single fucking living being on this planet to play multiplayer of Resident Evil 3 with me. So now it's literally a €40 game with 6 hours of playtime and no bonus modes. It's ridiculous. And they cut out a bunch of areas from original Resident Evil 3. Then they didn't include the really famous bonus game mode, the Mercenaries, which made it into the Resident Evil 4, thank God. They cut out that because they wanted to focus on that multiplayer piece of shit that is now dead, and all of that dev time was wasted. It's so fucking silly. Honkai Star Rail is one of the best turn-based RPGs I have ever played, and the story is cool, and the characters are amazing, and like the overall story and plot is fucking great. So it would be here, right? It would be like, I don't know, maybe here, something like that, or like this, right? But then it's a gacha game, right? So it goes here, maybe below Persona 3 Portable. If this thing wasn't a gacha game, it would be it would be such an incredible fucking RPG. I can't believe it. Literally hundreds of hours into this game. Star Rail is a great turn-based game that's very story-rich compared to other gachas at least. No, I think it's overall like a very story-rich game. And features dense and detailed environments. If you just play through it like a normal human being, you will love it. If you are a weirdo who will play it religiously every day, you will run out of content and complain on Twitter. For a gacha game, it's not that bad with the gambling for all ages that it promoted, but then again, I think the game would be a lot better if it didn't feature gambling for all ages, including the children, especially targeting the children. Outside of that, the turn-based combat of Star Rail is actually fucking peak. How stats decide the turn order, how ults can butt into that turn order, the team building aspect, minus the horrible gambling for all ages that's required to recruit team members, the ability to speed up combat, the weakness breaks, and their many effects on the enemies. I wish an actual story-driven single-player game with similar gameplay and more conventional leveling was made. I would play the hell out of that. Yeah, Honkai Star Rail is really good, but it's a fucking gacha game. No game gets anything cool out of being a gacha game, sadly. If it wasn't a gacha game, it would be incredible if it was like a single player thing. Judgment is going up there immediately. This is the original Judgment. So Judgment is from the guys who are making the Yakuza series. If you don't know, Yakuza is like you're going around a city beating the shit out of people, doing like very long side content. And the thing about Yakuza is that they always take the engine, models, the city itself, because it always takes place, the story always takes place in the same city. They take models, animations, the city, the combat, and they always copy paste it to another game, like to the next Yakuza game in the series, and they improve on it, and it results in some of the fucking best games you have ever played, with the best improvements between title to title. while at the same time you know the map by heart and where every single building is, because only minor things like change in the environment, but that allows them to add other cities that are completely new and still keep that first city, right? Judgment is pretty much that. There we go, PlayStation Europe Judgment gameplay trailer. So yeah, this is from the creators of Yakuza. It's a spin-off.
Where's our guy going?
On his way towards Pink Street. Crowd's thinning out. Get your ass over here.
It's in one little corner of this city that I run a detective agency. I work alongside my partner, Kaito-san. Funny enough, he's ex-Tojo.
It's a spin-off of the Yakuza series where you play a lawyer.
What are you up to?
The tracking. This minigame where you track guys is so shit. I hate it so much.
Paranoid, aren't you?
But the combat is fucking goated with the sauce so much. It's so... Why aren't they showing more combat? That's the fucking best thing about this game. And yeah, you're a lawyer who is trying to uncover like the big conspiracy thing.
Hold on. That's him.
And it's a game that obviously takes a lot from Japanese culture and things that I don't personally understand sometimes. There's a bunch of mini games you can play, like fucking... Yeah, you can play a lot of retro arcade games too inside of the fucking game itself. It's just such a complete package, man. You just don't have games like this from any other devs. It's crazy. So anyway, here's my review. I completed it after 43 hours. Greatest RGG studio game story-wise that I played. This was at the time, because then I played the sequel, which is so much better. There was barely any downtime during my 43 hours with the game, and if there was, it was entirely on me, as I stepped away from the main story to do degenerate amounts of gambling, drone racing, side questing, friends missions, finding stickers for skills, just taking silly photos and looking at cats. It's honestly almost perfect. Wish you did more lawyering during the story though. The bits that were in court were amazing, but way too short and did not require much from you. Holy fuck, this is just... It's a great action game. If you are looking to get into a series you know nothing about, like the Yakuza, really recommend Judgment. Mostly because the English dub of the game is fantastic. So yeah, that's making the top of the list right here. And then we are moving on to the next game, which was Mafia the Definitive Edition. There we go. Mafia the Definitive Edition is going like somewhere here. Okay. I think a step above Resident Evil 3. But I don't think I can put it like above Pathologic 2. So Mafia Definitive Edition is a remake of an old game. I no idea why it has such a high rating. So this is one of those remakes that I did not like. I loved the original Mafia 1. It's such a moody fucking game. It honestly was one of the first few games I have ever played in its entirety, like as a kid, and it was beautiful. It was like a GTA, but you know, Prohibition era gangsters. So I finished it after 15 hours. This included some achievement hunting, I believe, and this is how I felt about the game. I love the story of the original Mafia. Giving it a fresh coat of paint, the smooth voice acting and all that jazz is a great way to relive it. The gameplay, on the other hand, somehow feels worse than the fucking 2002 original. The driving is terrible, I kinda suspect it's trying to be authentic because you cannot brake and turn at the same time, just like in those old ass cars. Which is true, cars back then worked like this. But I don't give a fuck because it makes for some miserable ass gameplay. The shooting is straight out of the mid 2000s cover shooter, a bad one at that. It's very much worth it to get the game and go through it once for the story, but ain't no way in hell I'm doing any of the post-game content or completionist things. The only thing of that kind I subjected myself to was beating the infamous race mission on the hardest difficulty for the nostalgia, and I regret completing that achievement because I'm mentally scarred for the rest of my life. The story is really good. The new voice actors and the new face models and the like remade, all of the remade things, they enhance the story greatly compared to the original. But sadly, it's fucking, you know, the gameplay. Man, the gameplay was so bad. I hated every second of the gameplay. Okay, so then we have Postal 2, which I rate very highly. I really like the game. Postal 2 is going like above Overgrowth, for sure. But below all of those games, I think. I beat it in 8 hours. Damn, I beat it really fucking quickly. But then I went for some achievements, I believe. I like going back to Postal 2 from time to time. The humor feels a tad aged at points, and in some cases it aged like fine wine. The devs constantly update the game after 20 goddamn years, which is insanity. Replayed it this year to try out the new 2 Weeks in Paradise mode that integrates weapons from later expansion into it, as well as trying to get all the achievos I was missing, and it was a blast. I really like Postal 2. It's a very brutal game. It's a game as brutal as you want it to be. Because you can complete all of the there are objectives like get milk from the store, and you can get the milk, wait in a really long line and pay for the milk, or you can set everybody on fire and put them out with your piss and then behead them with a fucking with an axe and kick their head down the street to intimidate the cops. It's an insane game that allows you to be insane, but you can complete it without killing anybody ever. And I did that for both Postal 2 base game and its expansion. I completed the game without killing anybody, so I can confirm you can like literally not do any of that crazy shit. Yeah, then we have Postal 2 The Apocalypse Weekend. This is the first DLC that came out back then in like 2004. Yeah, I was about to say correctly. This is probably bottom of the B tier. It's still enjoyable. Original Postal 2 was Monday to Friday. You had 5 days of the week and you had chores to do. And then an expansion came out, Apocalypse Weekend, which added the weekend. And here is my opinion on it. I think this rating is kinda even too high for this DLC. This DLC was very like, whatever. It's just a downgrade from the original Postal 2 in every aspect, except for the weapons and gore. Zombies and cows are not fun enemies to go against. They made the DLC into a weird linear experience instead of the usual open world, and then the humor took a hit from its original. It's still fine, at least it's short, I guess. Yeah, Apocalypse Weekend was... If you ever played Postal, the main draw of Postal 2 was you get 3 chores to do. Go pick up the first day is go pick up the milk, go pick up the check from your job, and go cash out the check to get the money at the bank, right? And those 3 things were spread out around the map. Here's a convenience store, here's your job, here's the bank. You can go around the map any way you want and do these chores in any order. and you can be as fucking violent or as pacifistic as you want, given like the scenarios going around, right? And then the DLC made the game very fucking linear and not interesting. The only thing that was cool about the Apocalypse Weekend, it added more gore to the game, which is crazy. Some of that was integrated into base experience from this expansion, and that is only why I regard it kinda like better, because it added some of the most like best weapons, but it made the experience fucking terrible. And then right after that I played Paradise Lost, which is the last expansion for Postal 2. And Postal 2 Paradise Lost is going right here, middle of the city. It's very whatever. So this came out in 2015, and more perceptive of you might have noticed that this is 11 years gap between the last DLC to Postal 2 and the next. And the reason for that is Postal 3 came out in the middle of all of that, and it was a very shit game. It was taken away from the original developers and pawned off to somebody else. Postal 3 was legit terrible. It's regarded as one of the worst games available on PC. Like straight up one of the worst games ever. And the developers, like, they only had the rights for Postal 2, kinda, at the time. So they decided to make an expansion that's actually the sequel to Postal 2, just to spite the developers of Postal 3. And that idea is cool, but they made it in an engine for a game from 2004, and it really, you can really feel it. So sadly, so I finished it in 8 hours. Paradise Lost is, in my opinion, just worse than Postal 2. The humor took a hit and went from being crude satire straight into toilet humor and weed jokes, which that's just such a downgrade. The new gameplay additions like dual wielding and some of the new guns are definitely welcome. There are some actual half decent bosses in there, but doing another lap across the city I know by heart with superficial changes to some locations just felt tiring near the end. I don't foresee doing a replay of this anytime in the future, if even at all. Postal 2 Paradise Lost was a very mid expansion to a franchise I actually kinda enjoy, so... But it could have been worse, you know? You remember when I, like, couple minutes ago I said Postal 3 is one of the worst games available on your PC right now? I would like to add another game to that list. Lords of the Fallen. Lords of the Fallen is going to be the bottom of this list forever. There's no game worse here than Lords of the Fallen. I am talking about the version from 2014, because this game released a sequel / remake that is literally named the same, I think. See, this is fucking dumb. Why did they do this? Lords of the Fallen 2014 and Lords of the Fallen 2023. I don't know if 2023 is a good game or not. I didn't play it. I played the original because I had it in my library on Steam for a long time, and I am considering like deleting it from my account now because I am offended by how bad this fucking game was. So this is a game I played for 2 hours, and this is my description of it. I just cannot summon the strength to put even 1 more minute into this steaming pile. This is literally Dark Souls if you took all of the passion and soul out of it. Imagine Dark Souls made by Ubisoft or EA, and you get the proper idea of how this game unironically feels. I am so proud of this review because it encapsulated my feelings towards this product perfectly. Iron Pineapple is a great fucking YouTuber. I really recommend his videos. Oh look, it's that other Souls-like that I really disliked. This is Salt and Sanctuary. It looks like this. I kinda dig the art style and the fighting mechanics. It's just the piece of shit platforming. The game looks like this. It feels like a Dark Souls mobile made by like some Chinese company. Like unironically, the UI, the fucking fighting, everything feels like a Chinese rip-off. Chinese brand Dark Souls.
Two-handing a weapon, an Estus flask, bonfires, losing experience when you die, similar bosses, and even a useless stat to trick new players. On top of that, the aesthetics of the game are also very similar. Just like Souls, Lords of the Fallen has a grim dark fantasy setting with demons and magic and whatnot. Kinda rings a bell. Now you might be
yeah, but I think the graphics of Lords of the Fallen look like something like Diablo almost. You know, that Diablo kind of medieval. The combat feels really bad. It looks. It's just such a bad game there. Like, I don't know what words can I use to even describe how bad it is. Actually, let's, since I have this open, let's talk about Max Payne first, because I also played Max Payne 1 this year.
Nvidia's RTX Remix toolset has only been in open beta for a couple of days, but we're already seeing modders release fantastic demos like this one for us to try out. Welcome to Max Payne Remixed, a free demo chock full of ray tracing goodness, updated textures, DLSS, and more. Shout out to Slask's Psych Bunker for putting the work in. But enough of this intro, let's get to the gameplay.
Holy shit, this looks amazing, man. So yeah, Max Payne is obviously a third-person shooter that is very arcadey. There is no cover. You just kill the enemies. You can slow down time and shit. But the shooting is great. Like, Max Payne, unironically, is one of the greatest like shooters I think ever released. But the main draw for a lot of people is the story, because Max does this very brooding, hard-boiled detective narrations that is... It's trying so hard to be cool, and I think it fails in some cases. He talks too much, but I love it. I wanted him to talk even fucking more. I love listening to the voice actor of Max Payne just talking, man. Yeah, and the remixed thing looks fucking good, man, compared to the original. The original obviously is very old. So yeah, it's a great third-person shooter. And Max Payne is actually making it into my S tier. Max Payne 1 still holds up to this very day, to this very second. It is the best game Remedy has made that I played personally. I played Max Payne 1, 2, Alan Wake, American Nightmare, and I played some of Control. I need to go back and finish it, and I think out of these 5 games, Max Payne 1 is still the best mix of great gameplay and great story that they ever did. Those other games are also fantastic, but they peaked with their first game so far. I don't know how Alan Wake 2 is, for example, but I heard the gameplay is not as great, and I feel kinda bad because like Remedy lost what made their first game such a hit, and it was the tight gameplay. Like, the tight gameplay went away with Alan Wake. The Alan Wake gameplay is just horrible, and I wish they kinda spent more time developing the shooting and everything to feel better, increase like the appeal of their game. But of course they have all their strengths and weaknesses, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. As part of preparing to experience Alan Wake 2 for the first time, I decided to go back through all of Remedy games. It started with a replay of Max Payne 1, And oh boy, this is a motherfucking game right here, boys and girls. It take me 9 hours 20 minutes. It's a 2001 shooter that you can bet it aged, but parts of the gameplay are 100% timeless. My significant other, who hates shooters and overall difficult games, played through most of the game, only allowing me to switch in for the more difficult sections, and she fucking loved every second of it. The weapon variety, enemy ambushes, the slow-mo mechanics, and just how the gunplay works in this title mixes into a brew that you will never find in another game again. I am dead serious. Other entries into the Max Payne franchise, other Remedy games, every single other shooter, no game that I ever played had gameplay this peculiar. This is in part thanks to the mechanic that makes the game so difficult to play. Your guns are really inaccurate. You don't aim at your enemies, you aim in their direction and let the Jesus take the wheel. This goes for the enemies too, for the most part. And it kinda sounds messy, and it is, but it results in some truly chaotic and comedic firefights where everyone has a chance to miss even nearly point blank. Combine it with the ability to slow down time and you will get quite the spectacle. Speaking of spectacle, the level variety in this video game is truly insane. You will go through metros, dilapidated hotels, New York rooftops, mob boss mansions, heavy industry warehouses, mazes of freight containers, grimy dance clubs, underground parking garages that just keep going and going and going with each and every level. There is so much fucking more to this parking garage and you are just going, how can a parking garage go so deep into the ground? Secret government labs, high-tech glass skyscraper for high-tech for 2001. All the locations feel real and grounded, but they fit the gameplay and, more importantly, the tone of the game perfectly. The story. Max Payne is one of the simplest stories in gaming. Literally Super Mario Bros. Or generic action flick level of character motivation. Your wife was killed. You're an undercover cop with no regard for personal well-being and you want to know the truth. And you uncover a conspiracy that goes deeper and deeper with each clue found. The story transcends its simplicity by injecting everything with tons of character and style. Everything is noir, bleak, washed out. Cutscenes are for the most part just pictures, photos of real life devs dressed up with a filter on top of it. The narration done by the protagonist overcomplicates the simplest things, brings up ridiculous metaphors and is just hammed in, artsy, doesn't make sense at points. And you will love every fucking second of it because it results in some funny, genuine and provoking dialogue. I'm assuming I meant to write thought-provoking dialogue here. Or just makes you burst out laughing at its worst. There's a lot of real detail that goes into character and world building. Some of it is fucking shocking for a 2001 game. You will find letters the gangster bosses send to try and keep each other in line, diary entries, recordings and such that flesh out even the most minor of named enemies you will run into. These things are a very organic way to break up the sometimes repetitive firefights with actually engaging cutscenes and visuals. This is a feat I feel no other story character-driven FPS achieved. Sure, things like Halo or newer Dooms have great stories in the context or when the cutscenes are playing, but when you are in the middle of a level, nothing really is happening story-wise, save for some environmental storytelling. Max Payne, on the other hand, has these very simple and short cutscenes, reveals and things that add context between like every other firefight for 80% of the game. Some of the later levels are exceptions to this rule. Later levels are just gameplay and no cutscene in between. It is It really is hard to properly explain this without experiencing it yourself, and that's all I wrote. I wrote a lot because holy fuck, this game is so peak, man. I will actually move it up the list to right between Hollow Knight. I just love Max Payne. Jesus Christ. There it is, Penumbra Overture. It's gotta be like maybe here. I gave it a 7 out of 10. 3.5. So it should be like here. Maybe below Persona 3. Below Persona 3. Persona 3 was fucking fantastic. Okay, so Penumbra Overture, pretty cool horror game in my opinion. It only takes 4 hours, it's like ridiculously short. Environments are very repetitive, there's literally no variety to enemies, and the combat system takes away all the tension devs work hard to create, with an impeccable sound design and story that ramps up as you go through it. When you are done with the game, you feel like you have beaten a prologue to a way more interesting story ahead, and it's 100% the truth. I cannot imagine how fucking mad people back in the day had to have gotten when they found out that this $20 game that lasts between 3 and 4 hours is just a first half of a story that continues in Black Plague. The 3.5 out of 5 rating is only if you plan to play the sequel right after this one, otherwise it would be like 2 out of 5. I wanna show some visuals to kinda show people what this game looks like. I think I will do that for like the rest of the games. This is from Penumbra Overture. So Penumbra Overture plays like Amnesia, right? You are in first person, you are sneaking around like a very decrepit building and caves, and you are peeking out from around the corners. There's these dogs infected with fucking something, you don't know what. You do puzzles, you have your flashlight, but you can actually beat the fuck out of the dogs with a hammer. The game looks cool, I think the aesthetics of it are cool, but like I said, it's literally a prologue to a game that came right after it. It's the first part of the story, so it's not that fucking great. You still need to play it, and nowadays it goes for really cheap, and you should buy it as cheap as you can because it's only between 3 and 4 hours maximum, so you shouldn't pay too much for it, but it's a cool game if you like scary horror games. And then the sequel, Amnesia fucking Black Plague, what are you doing to me, brain? Penumbra Black Plague, on the other hand, is goated. Penumbra Black Plague is going up. Penumbra Black Plague is going up. I kinda don't wanna put it above Resident Evil 2 Remake, but it's so good. This is tough, man. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna move Resident Evil 2 Remake to S tier, actually. It's so cool. It's such a cool little game. I loved it. Penumbra walked so Amnesia could run. Amnesia is a completely separate story, but the parallels between the two games are unavoidable. The sound design is the very same as every Frictional Games title, simply perfect. The decision to ditch combat from last Penumbra paid off big time. The story is very interesting and its resolution is both perfect and quite existential. I will remember my playthrough of Penumbra for a long time. The setting of a research station from a near past hidden under Greenland's icy exterior feels great, scary, claustrophobic, and sometimes very melancholic, or even nostalgic. The game also features quite diverse environments for how short it is. It pretty much eliminated all the problems I had with the previous game, which was Penumbra Overture. As far as the bot goes, some of the puzzles are just incomprehensible for a normal functioning human being. Really hoping this gets a remake of some kind in the future. This game was something else, man. The story went fucking nuclear with how weird, how scary, how existential it got. I don't wanna spoil anything, I'm not gonna say it. So I think like I seen a Mandalore review of both Penumbras and he spoils the story. So you can hear about the story there. I'm not gonna talk about it here. It's so worth it to experience this game even today, in my opinion. Like, just get Penumbra Overture and Black Plague together in a bundle for literal pennies, and it takes 8 hours to complete both of the games like together, because it's like 3 to 4 hours each. It's an incredible journey start to end. And then I played I Am Bread. I Am Bread is going right here above Lords of the Fallen. I Am Bread is a meme game. I Am Bread is a shitty meme game. It looks like this. You're a toast, and your inputs stick you to surfaces, and you're trying to avoid getting dirty before you toast yourself. Your ultimate goal is to toast yourself before you get too dirty to be edible or too moist, you know. Anyway, it's a bad game. it's just terrible. I played it for like 4 hours. Kind of a joke game, so I can't seriously rate it. It's charming, the base gameplay idea is fine and whatever, but it just doesn't offer a lot of a bang for your buck that other joke games like Goat Simulator or Jazz Punk or other indie joke games do. The sound kept bugging out and muting. The load times are fucking abysmal for how small and light this game is, especially considering that you will need to reload levels a lot. This was terrible. This was truly like not worth the time I spent playing it. And then I played Ico, which also came from the same like PS Plus library. It's a very classic game because you won't find it on the goddamn Steam. This is an exclusive for PlayStation. This is a very short game. It's very atmospheric. You are this little boy, a bunch of like warriors from your tribe lock you in a fucking glowing coffin. You don't know what's going on. They don't speak like English, they speak a made up language. And like they lock you up in this, and then it falls over and you kinda get free by accident. And it's a game where you just sorta just walk around and you are trying to find your way out of this castle by like jumping, climbing, pulling levers. There are some combat elements where you swing your sticks at shadows. It's not that deep, it's primarily just this. You are going through these very cool environments and just climbing, finding your way, doing some light puzzles. And like the crux of this game is that you rescue this girl, right? And she doesn't fucking speak your language. When she speaks, all you hear is this. And he doesn't understand the fucking words she's saying to him. So you are walking around with this magical girl that can use spells to undo some of the locks. And the shadows are trying to kill her. They don't give a fuck about you, they want her. And you are trying to protect her the entire game by like shooing them and beating them with sticks and swords. And you are just both trying to get out of the castle. It's so moody, it's so beautiful, and it's so like melancholic. Even just saving in this game is you chilling on a stone bench. It's a really beautiful game. I really liked it, but it's very simple too. It's not like anything too complicated. So a cool, moody, beautiful game about two strangers helping each other out. A game that starts out simple and stays that way, with no overcomplicated puzzles, no skill trees, no dramatic unlocks that change up your skill kit. Ico sticks to its core throughout the whole experience, and that core is solid. The only thing I didn't like, some of the later parkour like levels really weren't that good, but it's still a great game. Even just the cover art, man. Holy, that is mood. That is so much mood in a little cover of a video game. I'm gonna put it probably like below Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, something like this, because the gameplay is very simple, and if you don't love the gimmick to death, then you will not like this game that much. I think Shadow of Colossus, even that has way more gameplay, and Shadow of Colossus is just couple team fights against like the big guys, because other than that it's just you are on a horse going around environments. Dead Cells rating in my book, it's going right here. Maybe above Overgrowth, maybe below Postal, something like this. Dead Cells is a amazing, beautiful, fantastic sounding roguelike. You have a bunch of fucking weapons, you can do a bunch of different builds, it's crazy fast, a lot of things are happening at the same time. There is barely any story. It's like the opposite of fucking Ico that I played right before this, so I got really into this. It was a nice change of pace. Legitimately, like, might be one of my favorite roguelikes games I played. I'm not sure if you can finish Dead Cells. I didn't, because at some point it really got too repetitive, but 4 out of 5, so like 8 out of 10 is a fair. And I played for 20 hours, very cool roguelike that started to feel repetitive towards the end. There are a lot of bits with unnecessary ass platforming in my opinion too. So this is kind of surprising. I kinda went against the grain. I rated this game way higher than the people on the website that I rate games on. So Warzone is actually going into B tier, probably above Apocalypse Weekend, probably above Resident Evil 3 Remake. I don't think it's gonna go above Mafia the Definitive Edition. Holy fuck, people really don't like this game. I kinda liked it, to be fair. So this is my I rated it 3.5 out of 5, so like 7 out of 10. I put like 75 hours into Warzone 2 when it came out. To be fair, it was part of my job, because at that time I was still writing articles for a website, and I wrote, it's a step back from Warzone 1 in every aspect except for the gunplay. It's buggy despite being made by one of the biggest companies in the world, but god damn it, did I still just like playing it. The shooting felt really good in this game. I might be just addicted to AAA slop. As of Season 3 Reloaded, I'm kind of done with it, to be honest, so yeah, I quit. June 13, 2023, I was just kind of done with the game. I moved on. So I don't know. I quit before the new map was playable. So I don't know how well that went. Let me take a look here. Okay. Okay, I don't recognize the locations, so I'm assuming they added like a new map and whatever. Kinda looks like the old map though. What the fuck? But yeah, these buildings, this setup is completely different than the setup I'm used to. No idea. Yeah, there's all the over the top like kill animations, and you have fucking Nicki Minaj as a playable character. You fucking spawn, you know, there's ton of shit in this game, but like at the core of it, I just liked the shooting. Like the shooting in Warzone 2 was fucking phenomenal. But then the game lost my interest. So